Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's July 23rd. Today, Catholics honor Saint Phocas, the gardener who lived in Turkey during the 3rd century. A protector of persecuted Christians, Phocas grew crops in his garden to help feed the poor. Phocas is remembered for his hospitality and generosity. His garden played an important part in living both of those virtues. When Roman soldiers were sent to kill him, they could not find shelter for the night. Naturally, when Phocas encountered them, he not only offered them lodging, but made a meal for them from the bounty of his garden. Over the course of the meal, Phocas realized they had come for him. While the soldiers slept that night, he dug his own grave and prayed for the soldiers. In the morning, Phocas told the soldiers who he was, and the soldiers, who could conceive of no other option, reluctantly killed him and buried him in the grave he had dug for himself. Although gardening can be a solitary activity, may we follow in the footsteps of Phocas the gardener, using our gardens to connect us to others through generosity and hospitality. Here's today's brevities. Today is the birthday of Francis Ropes Williams, who was born on this day in 1883. Williams had a shady garden in Winchester, Massachusetts. And what is the most used plant by shade gardeners? Hostas. That's right. And Williams had an appreciation for hostas before they became widely used in the United States. A graduate of MIT, Williams was lucky enough to work with Warren Manning, the famous Boston landscape architect. She stopped working to marry Stillman Williams. Sadly, her husband died after almost 20 years of marriage, leaving Frances with 4 young children, 2 boys and 2 girls. Williams and her family loved the outdoors. When the kids were little, she made them one of the very first play sets. When the children were grown, Williams found purpose in her garden, and she zeroed in on her hostas. She became known for hybridizing them, and she even wrote about them for various botanical magazines. Williams discovered the hosta that would be named for her quite by happenstance. She had visited her daughter in college in New York, and she'd stopped by Bristol Nurseries in Connecticut on her way home. Nestled in a row of Hosta Siboldiana was a hosta that had a yellow edge. Williams bought it and continued to grow it in her garden. Years later, the hosta ended up in the hands of Professor George Robinson at Oxford. She had labeled the plant FRW for Francis Ropes Williams, number 383. When the professor couldn't remember what Williams had labeled the plant, he simply called the hosta Francis Williams. Williams' efforts with hosta helped the newly formed American Hosta Society. After she died in 1969, a hosta garden was planted in her memory at MIT. And today is the anniversary of the death of John Goldie, who died on this day in 1886. Goldie was a Scottish-born botanist and author. He led an extraordinary life. He started out as an apprentice at the Glasgow Botanic Garden. As a young man, another botanist bumped him off what was supposed to be his very first plant exploration. But the botanical gods were smiling on him. The expedition was doomed when most of the party died from coast fever along the Congo River. 2 years later, William Hooker encouraged Goldie to travel to North America. He started out in Montreal and made his way down the Hudson River to New York, and he wrote that he carried as many botanical specimens as his back could carry. Goldie returned to the Glasgow Botanic Gardens, and for 5 years he trained an eager young apprentice and fellow Scotsman named David Douglas. When Douglas met an early death, Goldie planted a Douglas fir next to his house to remember his young friend. After Goldie discovered the giant wood fern, Hooker called it Dreiopterus goldiana in his honor, and it later earned the common name Goldie's wood fern. Goldie worked tirelessly, and he recorded a total of 14 plant species previously unknown to science. In Unearthed Words, here's a poem from Raymond Foss called Summer Rain. A break in the heat, away from the front. No thunder, no lightning, just rain, warm rain, falling near dusk, falling on eager ground, steaming blacktop, hungry plants, thirsty, turning toward the clouds, cooling, soothing rain, splashing in sudden puddles, catching in open screens that certain smell of summer rain. Today's book recommendation is The Living Landscape, Designing for Beauty and Biodiversity in the Home Garden by Rick Dark and Doug Tallamy. What if you're looking for a landscape that's not only beautiful and functional and productive, but also nourishes and fosters wildlife? That's the aim of The Living Landscape. Dark and Tallamy describe how plants can be used for multiple purposes in the garden. Today's garden chore is to buy a bolt of wetting tool. Wetting tool is the perfect solution for your summer crops and ornamentals, protecting them from Japanese beetles and other ravenous insects. And the best part is it's attractive and inexpensive, the perfect combination. In fact, you can get 600 feet of wetting tool on Amazon for under $15 using the link in today's show notes. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. Since we are in full-on pesto making mode, I wanted to share a recipe that I discovered on the blog Dunk and Crumble. It's an excellent alternative to basil pesto. This one is cashew tarragon pesto. It's got a wonderful, unique taste with just a hint of lemon. All you do is take a bunch of flat leaf parsley, add in your tarragon and cashews, then the usual suspects for pesto, garlic and olive oil, black pepper and salt, and then incorporate the brightness of lemon from lemon zest, lemon juice, and a handful of lemon balm. It's fantastic. I'll share the recipe in today's show notes. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.